Hey, Matt, thanks very much. Thank you, Eagle Eyes. Yes, no sound. There's sound. Yeah, here we are. Please start again. See, this is what happens when you have early games.
We're on at the same time. That's why every time.
We need a producer. Like, seriously, I can't do this anymore. There's way too much pressure.
Apparently.
Jets, Blackhawks, 3:00. We were just going over, but you couldn't hear us. The fact that this was the earliest we've gone before, or closest we've gone to game time this year. Debate we need to get into at this time.
We don't. It was a fantastic debate, though. I made some really excellent points.
Some of the best things you've ever said.
So sorry that you missed it. Over the next half hour or so, we will get you set for this afternoon's game. Mark Lazerus from The Athletic, who covers the Chicago Blackhawks and really the league as a whole, is going to join us at around 12:40. So looking forward to that. Obviously, big news in Chicago this week with their decision a couple days ago to replace head coach Luke Richardson and make that change. Because although we knew that the Blackhawks were going to continue to be in a rebuilding year, I don't think anyone anticipated the struggles to be as extreme as they've been.
Okay, so as an outsider in this situation, you're rebuilding. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm sure Mark Lazerus will tell us a little bit more about why this decision was made. But if you're rebuilding your team, I just don't understand the idea of firing your coach. So there's got to be some other things behind the scenes or that we don't know about or that we're not seeing, because I just don't understand the idea behind it unless you have another. Maybe you're like St. Louis and you have a coaching candidate that you want now.
They're going with an interim coach, and so they've promoted up from Rockford Ice Dogs. So I don't know if that's the case for it, but maybe instead of a question, that could just be a statement that you're going to make. Mark, just don't understand.
I don't get it.
So looking forward to having Mark give us some clarity on it, though. Great to see so many of you in the chat already. Looking forward to this game here this afternoon. Question of the day, JT.
So, simple. It's Saturday. It's an early game. So let's just go with this one. Who will score the Jets' first goal today? There is no prize out of this, but just get into it. Just some fun to why they will score that, because the Jets are coming off a huge win in Buffalo in the 4-game slide. I thought they played a marvelous game against the Sabres. And, of course, Josh Morrissey, a guy who was just named to Canada at the Four Nations face-off, integral to the game-winning goal. Adam Lowry finishing things off in a 3-2 win for the Jets. That had a lot of positives coming out of that one.
Yeah, so great for them to be able to get back into that win column, even though it did take longer than they had anticipated or what they had looked for, but a lot to talk about going into this game. And they play tomorrow. It's a 5:00 game, which I don't consider an afternoon game, but obviously back-to-back games. Be interested tomorrow to find out, do you think it's any different playing on back-to-back days if it's the early games versus the 7:00 games?
I don't know. These is the time. That's not a whole lot of time. First off, you're traveling and you're coming back and play at 5:00. So I recall one time the Jets playing in Calgary. I think it was right against, I think it's 22 hours or something you have to have between games. They played at 7, then they had to play at 5 Pacific. It was tight. And I remember the Jets being pretty tired, but we should probably focus on the game at hand and worry about today's game. Fair enough. It's going to be tough. 3 games in 4 days, not the easiest schedule at all for the Winnipeg Jets. So lots of answers coming in with regards to who's going to score first. I like Kyle Connor. He's feeling it. He certainly is. Morrissey's scores first.
I like how many different choices there are out here. Everyone feeling something different out here.
Yeah, well, Adam Lowry was the game winner the other day. Another guy saying Velarde. You know what? One of the best parts that came out of the game the other day was the post-game interview with Gabe Velarde afterwards, when he was unaware that they had not awarded that goal to him. Originally, it was Hayden Fleury that had given the goal to, so he was kind of funny about that and told Ken Wiebe, well, I did score it. There's no doubt about it. And then went into full detail afterwards because there's not once but twice goaltender interference came into play in Buffalo, and one was his goal. He bumped the glove of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. But he was out of the blue paint, and then of course the goal that Buffalo scored that was called back, there was contact by the skate of a Sabre forward and Connor Hellebuck's skate. So it was great to hear Gabe go into full detail why one goal was a goal and one goal wasn't. Of course, it was his goal that was a goal that he said he made the right choice, which was funny. The
Jets had a efficient practice yesterday for it. So with no morning skate today, wanted to get the legs going. They only ran a few drills from what was reported. Here's what the projected lines are based on what was seen in Chicago yesterday for practice.
I'm sharing the screen. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that there's no real surprises here when you look at how they're expecting to go with the same. I do think that a lot of eyes will continue to be on the blue line and that third pairing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That has come under a little bit of heat. So Stanley and Heinola getting that third defense pairing. And of course, that's unofficial at this moment as of right now, if that's going to be the third defense pairing for the Jets today. A lot of minutes for Josh Morrissey. He played 29 minutes in Buffalo the other night, which, some
29.54.
Yeah.
Don't shortchange.
Yeah, let's not at all.
30.
I was asked this the other day, is with the thought that Josh Morrissey was selected by Team Canada at 4 Nations Face-Off, would it be drop off and play? I'm like, no, because you're just like, you have to prove even more that you made the right choice. And Josh Morrissey, full value for that. Of course, a big part had an excellent game against the Sabres the other day. But we'll have to see how that pans out. But the idea of playing Josh Morrissey 29 minutes a night, probably not the first thing that comes to mind of the things you want to do, especially, and I don't know if that's going to happen again today, or certainly not again tomorrow with this being them having to play again tomorrow. So that would be something certainly to keep an eye on.
For it. Cole Perfetti also playing big minutes for him, 19 minutes, 5 seconds, and he spoke to the media in Chicago yesterday.
So you play a season high, career high 19 minutes last night. I'm just curious, when you're in the middle of that game, are you kind of realizing like we're getting up there in minutes at this point?
Not really. No, I mean, the more you play, the better you feel almost, the more engaged you feel into the game. I loved it. I thought it was great. I felt like I was, your legs are always into it. A little tiring at times, but I mean, when your mind's into it the entire time and your hands are always into it, it feels great. So it was a good feeling.
One of the important aspects of the game was that big 5-on-3 that power play was able to come through. Obviously, you're stepping into that unit. Just curious how that adjustment is going and what you liked about what you guys were able to do yesterday.
Yeah, it's been great getting that chance to play on that top unit. I mean, a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of skill and a lot of playmaking ability. So to be able to get on there, it's a lot of fun. And we had a lot of really good looks. I think Shea found me backdoor. Guy made a good save on me. Casey had a couple good shots. So, I mean, we had some good looks and good looks on the 5-on-4 as well, and it was great that we cashed in on one.
Cole Perfetti after practice yesterday. Yeah, I left my mute on. What? Don't give me that look.
No.
Don't start. Don't start. We have to do this for how many more games? Let's just not start.
Maybe not as many as we think.
Right. Maybe more for you, less for me. We're hard to see. So, again, I might take some of my salary and pay a producer for this whole thing because, my God, it's becoming an issue.
It's okay. It's all good. It's the Saturdays.
Everyone says that until they lose their job. And so that was Cole Perfetti playing a season high in minutes the other day on the second line, certainly on that top power play. The power play had been misfiring for quite a bit. They went 0 for 3 in the first period. They get that 5-on-3, and most importantly, they get a goal there because it's nice to get off the schneid there with the way things have been going with the man advantage. And that goes into the thing we've been talking about, that 44-something% on the power play was unsustainable. But nice to see the power play cashing in that situation. Before we bring in Mark Lazerus, here's assistant coach Dean Chenoweth, and one of the key parts to the game in Buffalo the other day was just sticking with it.
Overall last night, obviously good for you guys to get back in the win column, but that was one that it didn't seem like there was any easy ice anywhere. It was kind of two desperate teams trying to get themselves back in the win column. What do you really like about how your team not only played, but just kind of like got themselves into that game and continued with it all the way through?
Well, I thought we stuck with it. I mean, obviously they're coming off a loss where they were up 4-0 and ended up losing to Colorado, and then obviously with us losing our last 7 of our last 10, there's momentum in the season where you have to bounce back. So I thought we stuck with it. Took longer than 60 minutes, but happy with the result.
Something crazy too about the amount of minutes that some of those guys were playing yesterday, and you still have Josh Morrissey up at 29 minutes, still having enough in the tank to go basically end to end and help set up that goal.
Well, I mean the special teams played a huge part in the minutes, and the guys that play that obviously reap the benefits of it. So it was good to see. I mean, we got into the third period there, and we were trying to keep some of those shifts shorter, knowing that it could go the distance and extra, and you don't want to overextend yourself where you can't come back when you need those guys at the most important times.
This is Coach Dean Chenoweth talking about the game in Buffalo. We will not keep our first guest and only guest waiting much longer. He is Mark Lazerus of The Athletic. Pleased to join us here this afternoon. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you two doing?
Go ahead.
Oh, we're
You
doing
tell.
well. We're doing great. I mean, JT's been having a few issues with the technical.
Yeah,
side
I didn't mean to catch you guys off guard with such a
No, the
difficult-
technical side of the show. I know it's just a sore spot between the two of us right now. There's an invisible wall that exists between us. There's some
All over muting the microphone, unmuting the microphone. Like, it just like, is there things to fight about nowadays? Really about the muting of the microphone? I don't think so.
I don't know if you have a sibling, Mark, but it's kind of, this is where JT and I are at now. It's kind of the sibling.
We spend a lot.
I
of
spent the
time
last
with-
20 minutes
Rivalry.
breaking up my 12 and 9-year-old daughters, so I think
Oh,
we're
see,
reminding
there
me of
you
them
go.
right now.
Same
Pretty much.
dynamic. Yes.
We need a producer to not only unmute the show, but then also to keep the two of us in our separate corners. Mark, one of the things, I'm just kidding. Kind of, not really.
Yeah.
Mark, one of the things that Jamie and I were talking about before you came on, obviously, was the coaching change that was made just a couple of days ago. And this is the first time that we'll see the Blackhawks since the coaching change was made. So JT wanted to know, he doesn't understand why it was made from a rebuilding.
As an outsider, Mark.
Yes,
like,
as an outsider, the rebuild, you have a team that you know is rebuilding. Why make a coaching change right now? And did it surprise you that it happened when it did?
And a little bit it did, and a little bit it didn't. I mean, the last 2 years, the Blackhawks were basically designed to lose, right? So you couldn't put anything on Luke Richardson for those 2 years. But this year, Kyle Davidson went out and he got Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen and TJ Brody and Alec Martinez and Craig Smith and Pat Maroon, Laurent Brossoit. He went out and he tried to improve this team. He said he's tired of it, doesn't want them to be the fighting for the 3 worst spots in the league anymore. They were never realistically going to be a playoff team, but the fact is they're 32nd in the league right now. That's not really great. And I don't know how much of that you can really blame on Luke Richardson. They've been much more competitive this year. I think they played 26 games, and in 25 of them, they have either led, been tied, or been trailing by just 1 goal in the third period. So they're in it, but they're not winning any of those games, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't score. Connor Bedard, who is priority number 1, like the number 1 job of the Blackhawks coach for the foreseeable future, is to help Connor Bedard become the superstar he needs to be. And he's playing much better hockey than he was last year. He's a much more well-rounded player. He's focusing more on his defense, but he's got 5 goals in 26 games. That's alarming if you're a Blackhawks general manager or fan. So I think enough of these things have piled up, and like the last 4 games look pretty bleak that, I don't know how much you can really blame Luke Richardson for this, but I think Kyle Davidson felt like he had to do something.
Well, that you brought up a kind of Connor Bedard, then this is another, again, an outsider. You're not seeing the numbers you see last year. Is there more to what he's not doing, or is it just you can look at some of the coaching that's been going on this year as part of the problem?
I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers in a while, but I think he's shooting like 6 or 7% or something like that. Obviously, that's not going to be that. He'll positively regress to the mean there, and he'll get hot at some point. But he went, I think, 13 straight games without a goal at some point this year.
Yeah.
This kid's probably never gone 4 games without a goal in his entire life, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. Like you go back and you look at his game-by-game stats in the juniors, and he scores every game. And God forbid he misses one, he scores 3 the next. So he's been fighting through. I keep hearing the term sophomore slump every time like a pundit talks about Connor Bedard. I don't think that's what this is. I think there's a little bit of puck luck involved. One of the things that Luke Richardson was doing that was bad was changing his line mates literally every single game. Like there's been no consistency, no chance to develop chemistry. Tyler Bertuzzi was brought in to play with Connor Bedard, and he just started playing with him like 2 games ago, and now he's not again under Anders Sorensen. So who knows how that's going to work? But he's playing well. Like he is a better hockey player now than he was last year. Like last year, as every Minnesota Wild fan who wanted Brock Faber to win the Calder Trophy will point out, he was like minus 9,000 last year, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's up until a couple of games ago when the bottom fell out on this team, he was even at 5-on-5. Like he is playing better hockey. The pucks will go in for him. Nobody should be like wringing their hands and rending garments over Connor Bedard's play. He's going to be fine, but he is beyond frustrated because he expects a lot more of himself. The goals are supposed to come for him, and there is a little bit of a crisis of confidence I think he went through for a little bit, but I don't have any concerns about Connor Bedard.
I heard you mention Laurent Brossoit. Of course, a lot of Jets fans still lament that, not the fact that he's back this year. Where is he at in his recovery from surgery?
It's not going well. He had surgery right before training camp, and they said he might be ready for like the first week of the season. And we still have not seen him. And he just had another procedure done a couple of weeks, like arthroscopic, kind of cleaning it up on his knee, like a week or 2 ago. We might not see him till after the 4 Nations break, we might not see him at all this year. Like, there's no way. Like, the way this is going, we have absolutely no idea. It's what, December 7th. I have not met Laurent Brossoit yet. Like, he is nowhere. Like, he was on the ice a couple of times when things looked like he was trending towards returning, and then had a setback and had another surgery, and he's still a very long way off.
That's such a shame.
Yeah.
You'll really like him when you meet him.
Yeah,
I bet I will.
Fantastic.
I think I said that to you last time.
He's like not a guy on the team right now.
We're together. Great guy. He's a great storyteller too. With this game here today, Mark, I mean, we often see after a coaching change, a coaching bump of some sort, but what will you be looking for in this game here today between the Hawks and Jets?
It's a coach can't come in and change everything in one day, obviously. So we're not going to really get a true feel for what Anders Sorensen's system is. That'll take some time. Like, the Hawks are going on a week-long road trip to New York starting tomorrow. I think there's a bunch of practice days in there. We'll start to see it soon. I just want to see how the team responds. A lot of times you get the fired coach bump, right, where a team is kind of shocked into getting out of their complacency. And there was a lot of talk of that in the room yesterday about, this is on us, and we feel bad. We did this to Luke. And I'm curious to see if there's sulking or if there's motivation behind this. I mean, you never know how it's going to play out. This is a very veteran team. People think of the Hawks as this rebuilding team, a young team. They're one of the oldest teams in the league because they're keeping all their top prospects other than Bedard in Rockford for a while to kind of let them marinate. So you'd think that they would respond the right way, and I expect they will. I'm curious because, Luke Richardson played a very defensive system. That was the way he felt he could win with the Blackhawks. Sorensen's a more of a creative and offensive mind. I'm curious to see how long it takes for the Hawks to really open things up again in transition.
Well, Mark, appreciate the time. Just before you go, just maybe last week, the week before, saw Jonathan Taves resurface on Instagram. Have you might not know, he's from Winnipeg. He
is from Winnipeg. I don't know if you knew that.
Have you considered maybe looking into doing a feature on Jonathan Taves?
That's your job. He's your guy. Look, Jonathan Taves, I covered him for, more than a decade, and I'm just glad to see, however he has to go about it. I'm glad to see he seems to be in a better headspace right now, because it's really, he hasn't officially retired, but obviously he's not playing in the NHL again at this rate. He hasn't played in a year and a half. I just hope he can kind of get this long COVID and this inflammation and stuff behind him and just be able to live his life again, because I always figured he'd be a head coach in the league. I always figured he'd have a long future in hockey if he wanted it. But he's trying to get himself right, and I hope he does, so that you can write a story about him, because he's from Winnipeg.
I'll be sure to send it to you if I do.
And he's from Winnipeg.
Thanks so much, Mark. Really appreciate you making some time on your Saturday for us.
No problem. You guys play nice.
Okay, talk to you later.
See you, Mark. Great, kind of inside stuff. Whenever you go back in the day when Jonathan Taves was with the Hawks, whenever you went in the dressing room, you could hit some player, somebody would go, "Did you know that Jonathan Taves is from Winnipeg?"
And that was so Ken Weeb and I Mark's one of my favorite guys that cover the league. And so we always have chats with visiting media, or when you see them, when you go into their building. And we used to always joke about that, three of us. Did you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard this? Maybe you didn't know this, Mark, but Jonathan Taves from Winnipeg. You might want to think about doing a feature on that while you're here covering this game.
To the city and go to all the schools that he went to.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and this was always, we always, we just beat that one to a dead.
Because it is funny.
Well, So we went to that for, 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but it was all the, that is really, I'm glad you asked about LB. I saw that people I
do listen to people, and I saw they had been.
He listens to you, which is really the most important thing.
Even the ones you ripping on me about the mute button, don't worry about it. I'm marking you for Christmas. Don't worry.
That's right.
Yeah.
He can't hear us, but
that's right. You can hear me. That's right. So it's too bad for Laurent, because I remember talking to him last year on Ground Control about how last year was his first full year of being healthy. So you were happy for him that he was getting an opportunity in Chicago, the possibility of being the starting goaltender, which is why Eric Comrie left for that opportunity to play a lot more. But I just thought this was a great chance for him. So the fact that there's questions about even being available this year is really too bad for Laurent.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of, you think about just what a good personality he is. I think, especially even when he came back, we always joke about goaltenders and that sort of thing and the little idiosyncrasies that they have. But he was a guy you could just sit and chat with. And his grandfather had a starring role in one of our runway episodes last season as well. First time that he was able to go
the mentors
see him.
trip.
Yes,
yeah, that was really cool.
Always a soft spot. So hope that things are able to get cleared up and that Brossoit is able to get into some games this year. Certainly many people cheering for him, and I know that many people within the comments are as well. Just as we start to look towards shutting things down, again, the question of the day was who will score the Jets' first goal. Love to see so many of you in here commenting on
I like
things.
Connor Hellbuck's going to score the first goal. I saw that a couple of times. That's pretty.
I would be so disappointed if he scored a goal on the road.
Yeah,
if he's going to score a goal, score it
the
at
song
home.
Gangnam Style. Is
yeah,
that
I
his
think
goal
it still
song?
is.
Yeah,
for it.
Maybe there'll be a time we'll hear it.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so.
It has to be here though.
It does have to be. One of the things that we've seen over the last couple of games, Mark Scheifele back taking faceoffs again, took 25 faceoffs in that game in Buffalo. So a positive sign as well that hopefully things are appear to be trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and then he was clear. He was telling the truth when Mike McIntyre asked him if things were getting better. He just said yes with the question of he's getting better, and he's able to take faceoffs. So yes, a great sign. We saw them third period here against St. Louis, and certainly the first game of this 2-game road trip in Buffalo. Great sign for Mark Scheifele to be back in the middle, which is where he needs to be.
Absolutely. The Jets 10-6 on the road, Chicago 4-7 at home. The Blackhawks struggles, as we heard from Mark, continue on. They have lost their last 4 games and 8 of their last 10. Will be interesting to see what happens today. The game 3:00 on TSN, and then tomorrow back here, it kicks off a 4-game homestand.
Finally.
Exactly.
It's every other day too, right? So it's Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
good little schedule.
Yeah, and looking forward to, we've got Columbus, Boston, Vegas,
Montreal.
I mean,
whenever Montreal's here, it's fireworks too. That's the other thing. That's a great way to close out the homestand.
Absolutely. Well, but you look, even with the struggles that Boston has had this season, Boston, Vegas, Montreal. I mean, that's a great homestand to be able to be a part of. One of only, I think there are 6 games left in 2024 at home, Canada Life Center. So if you have the opportunity to get down to see a few games, definitely recommend it. You know what, Phyllis? We do need more likes for Sara and Jamie. Only 30 so far. Wow. We need to up that right now. It's probably because I didn't do the reminder of smash that like button.
That is such an integral part of the show.
It really is.
Probably because it was muted.
It probably is muted. You guys just didn't hear it.
Yeah. Do you want to see JMO's appearance on Cabin Fever?
Yes. So one of the things that you love to see is obviously when players are showing off their personalities in interviews. Paul Bissonnette made a lot of headlines recently for the
100 guys at one time.
Yeah, you just feel,
yes.
There is the issues in Arizona that he was involved in. Brad Marchand was on with TNT, which Biz is a part of on the panel, kind of gave him the gears a little bit for it. And then this week, Thursday, after the game in Buffalo, Josh Morrissey was on with Amazon Prime's Coast to Coast, which is a show every Thursday that Jets fans or that NHL fans can watch. And Josh took the opportunity to give him the gears as well.
All right, everyone, we have ourselves a cabin call. Yeah, we do get reception inside the cabin here on NHL Coast to Coast. Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets joining us. I have Keith Yandel and I have Paul Bissonnette with me. Josh, first of all, congratulations on the OT win. You assisted on the game-tying goal and on the OT winner. You guys are 4-0 in overtime. What is it that when you go into the extra time, you guys just seem to have this confidence that you can pull it off?
Yeah, good to see you guys. Good to see you, Biz. Glad you made it through, buddy. When I was skiing down the ice there in OT, I was pretty gassed, but I just figured, man, if Biz can take on 6 guys, then I can get down the sheet one more time. So, you know, we've got a lot of great players and obviously a world-class goalie. So far it's been going well 4-on-4, or 3-on-3 in OT, sorry. But it just, it's a little extra effort. I think kind of what the coaches want us to do is there, but we've got a lot of talent and a great goalie. So Just want to keep that streak alive, I guess, in overtime.
There he is, Josh Morrissey, with some sense of humor, ripping into Biz.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's good to see Josh laughing too. So
yeah, I love to see anything like that, especially because we don't always see it from all of the players. So great for them, because they do have, so many of them do have great personalities out there. Can we throw up the projected lines one more time?
Yes.
Maybe? Okay, let's do it one more time just as we continue to, as we get ready to close out things here this afternoon. This is what your projected lines are expected to be for this afternoon against the Blackhawks. No real changes. It said blue line. I think, we'll continue to take a look not only at that third pairing, but Josh Morrissey with Neil Pionk. Games now. Hayden Fleury has done, I think, a great job. He's one of the ones that I have targeted now to think of maybe doing a home ice with. I think he's done a really nice job stepping in for Dylan Sandberg. And he's one of those guys that, from what I can tell, in the sense of he's always, I don't know if he's the jokester of the group, but he seems to have fit in really well. We've seen some we've seen some incidents with water bottles, with various things where he certainly seems to have integrated himself in.
That's for sure a home ice thing to find out, get to the bottom of this pranking thing. And him and his wife had just had a baby too when the preseason was going on. So, and I think the original plan was he's going to be part of the Manitoba Moose, but injuries have played a large role, and Hayden Fleury has grabbed that opportunity and has been excellent in the second defense pairing in the absence of Dylan Sandberg.
Yes, and I see some people asking too about, or at least I saw one comment about asking if there's an update on Sandberg. There still is no timeline. When they were here for that last game against St. Louis, Scott Arniel was asked about it, and he still said there's no timeline, that he is in a walking boot.
Yeah, I saw him and his wife walking into the building for the St. Louis game in that walking boot still. So
still no timeline for it. We'll be sure to keep you updated, though. Inevitably, people will be asking, and we'll be getting injury updates when the team returns. There is going to be no morning skate tomorrow for the Jets. Of course, with it being back-to-back games, there never are. Plus, it's the 5 p.m. start. But the good news is, we will be here.
Yeah, at 12:30.
At 12:30. With
microphones working. Yeah, cross your fingers.
Cross your fingers. You never know for sure.
Yeah.
We hope you all have a fantastic Saturday. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of it with us here on Check-In. And we will see tomorrow. You know what? Keep an eye on who it is that or let us know tomorrow, maybe even who you voted for.
First goal.
For first goal. And if
somebody's going to be right. Somebody's going to be right. That's the boy. He's like, see you later.
The hook.